This is Back Roads of Illinois server to farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and the Midwest. This is the Markets Club podcast with Jeff French from American, and we were going to have a conversation about the weather with John Barrick, meteorologist for DT, and I will have a conversation about the commodities markets with Jeff French from Ag American. All right. This tornado season is more deadly season with high winds and flooding in Kentucky and Missouri, Arkansas, southern Illinois. We will be talking about that with John Barrick, meteorologist for DTN. John, how are you?
I'm doing great, Caesar. I hope you are too. A little rainy and a little smoky up here as we're talking, but we've had some good rainfall here, so I'm glad to get it.
Great to hear that. John, let's discuss about this season with tornadoes in Kentucky and Missouri. We were seeing it more frequently than previously decades. Usually we seem that in the plains like in Kansas, Nebraska. But what is your thoughts on this spring season and the weather pattern?
Yeah, Caesar. It's been really interesting to see how the weather has evolved this spring and now we're into the early summer. It's been very active, but those storm systems have been kind of doing a different kind of trajectory than what I wouldn't say normally, but what we typically see. I mean, usually we see a lot of systems come out of Colorado and move up towards Minnesota, and that's when we get those big tornado events from Texas up to Nebraska. And why we typically think of spring as and that area as Tornado Alley, but this year it's been a little bit farther south. We've seen a lot of those systems kind of lay down a front from eastern Texas and Oklahoma up through the Ohio Valley. And we've seen systems right along that. Instead of going from Colorado northward, they go from Texas northward. And that's part of the reason why we've seen a lot of rainfall and flooding as well. But also a reason why the tornadoes have been a little bit different this year than previous years. So, that storm track a little farther south has kind of meant for why we've seen more tornadoes in states like Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky this year than we see back towards the plains. Now, we've still seen a whole bunch of them all up and down the plains and really across the southeast. It's just been the nature of an active weather pattern, but that kind of primary one from Texas through the Ohio Valley is why we've seen so many farther south and east this year than our typical spot in the tornado alley states from Texas up to Nebraska.
I've been wondering, could we see more severe weather in the Midwest and central U.S. for the future, John?
Yeah, I think so, Caesar. I mean, we still continue to be in this active pattern here in early June. After this week here, after the midpoint of the month, I think we'll start to slow down. But we'll see that kind of weather pattern or that storm track shift more. And really the early half of this month has been everywhere. We've had all sorts of disturbances kind of moving through the country, but we'll see it kind of shift more from that southern track farther north, through the northern plains, the Dakotas, Minnesota, and through Canada, really. So we'll pull a whole bunch of that storm track farther north. That could mean that we do get, when we do get thunderstorms, that they may be more likely to be severe across the central plains, across the Midwest. So that includes Illinois. So we'll have to be on the watch out for that. But our weather pattern should be shifting here as we go through the rest of the month of June and really seeing those southern areas dry out and the northern areas get more in on the storm tracks. It doesn't mean that we're going to be specifically super wet across the north or have a whole bunch of chances for severe weather, but I think the more chances we get at precipitation, and thunderstorms, the more likely we'll be having some severe weather to close out the month. So we'll be watching it. And, severe weather is always a tricky thing. We don't really know exactly what's going to happen until, maybe a couple days beforehand. So we'll keep our eyes on it. But
Can you tell us that what is the weather forecast for next few weeks ahead in the Midwest?
yeah, Caesar. So I think we're going to start going on a drier trend here for the second half of June. We do see a high lever or high pressure system ridge starting to develop across the southwest, and that should be slowly expanding its way northward here through the rest of the month. So, as we go throughout the rest of the month, we should see temperatures, being a little bit warmer more frequently rather than the early half of this month, where we've been much more mild. And we will likely see the frequency of precipitation go down as well as that storm track moves farther north. We'll still get in on some of it, I'm sure. And like I said, that still could be violent, and we'll be looking at severe weather potential every day, of course. But as we get into the later half of the month, I think we start drying out a little bit. We'll see how long that lasts, and if it's more frequent out west of the Mississippi than right here in Illinois. We have some indication that at least some potential for precipitation will continue going into July. But the farther west we get, the hotter and the drier it's looking going through the rest of the month.
Do you see some drought into July and August?
That's definitely on our radar. A lot of the weather models we're looking at has a very dry, very warm look to it through the last 2/3 of the summer season. So both July and August look very hot and dry for a lot of folks. Whether or not that develops drought specifically in Illinois, that's going to be a tough call. It's not just, the overall look of a hot and dry forecast that does it. We still will get precipitation events to come through during that time frame. So whether or not those come frequently enough or not, we'll see. I'm sure there will be some drought either creeping in, redeveloping around the state and around the region here for the second half of summer. So we'll have to keep our eyes on that for sure.
What is your final thoughts on the growing season in 2025?
Yeah, our forecast for summer hasn't changed. It's just been pushed back a bit. So we've had a fairly wet spring and early start to summer. Not everywhere, of course. There have been areas that missed out. Even in northeastern Illinois has been a part of that at times here. So it's not perfectly, wet and everything to start off the summer. But we've had a lot of drought reduction across the majority of the Corn Belt here throughout the spring and early summer. So that's setting us up at least in an okay spot in a lot of areas. It's not for everybody, obviously, but I think for most folks are in an okay spot at least right now. But it's all about what happens during pollination in July. So we're about a month or so away from that, and going into the fill period for both corn and then beans. So we'll see how big of a factor this hot and dry forecast becomes, and how widespread that is too. The western half of the Corn Belt does look to be in the worst of that. And we're gonna look out for our folks from Kansas up to the Dakotas to see if they have a bunch of issues here. But that, how far east does that get? That'll be very questionable. And how much of an impact will that be? That's also questionable. Our soils in Illinois are very good at retaining moisture. So hopefully the rainfall we've gotten so far, and at least the periods we'll see coming up are enough to produce a good crop. But we've got some major concerns west of the Mississippi for sure.
Thanks, John.
Absolutely, Caesar. Thanks for having me on again.
This is John Barrick. We were talking about the planting progress in northwest Iowa. What's going on with the corn acreage in the Midwest and northeast South Dakota? Let's discuss about it with Jeff French from American Ag. Jeff, how are you?
Very good, Caesar. Yeah, the planting pace, especially in Iowa, I mean, there's just going to be, I think there's just going to be a lot of corn in Iowa, and from a 50-50 rotation wise, it was our heavier corn year, but we got in early. We got in April 10th, got everything in the ground, and then late April into Easter and first part of May, we were out for about 10 days. But the planning progress was great. Everything went in good, and we've definitely got some beneficial rains here lately. And the corn, it looks like the corn is just getting into that nitrogen, and the corn right now looks picture perfect. I know it's only the first week of June, but boy, this stuff looks awfully good here in central and west central Iowa. But we got a long growing season ahead of us, but we're off to a very strong start.
How is the weather in northwest Iowa that there is any problems with the cold weather?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was cool there for a while. I mean, we had 9 or 10 days straight of overcast and kind of rainy. We'd get up in the mid 50s, maybe low 60s, and then in the nights we'd be in the 40s. But I think it was kind of early enough. I don't think any damage per se was done, but it was slow moving during that time. But since then we've heated up nicely. We got the sunshine out, especially today. I mean, today is one of the probably top 3 days where the wind's not blowing 40 miles per hour, which is nice. But all in all, yeah, I don't think it had any problems, but um, everything's looking really, really nice right now. Again, we're in the first week of June, but we're off to an excellent start here in Iowa.
Yeah, it's pretty cooler than average from the Memorial Day.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, how is your planting progress in northwest Iowa on your operation?
It went well. I mean, it was, we had about 10 days where we were out there late April into the first part of May, around Easter. But we got all our corn in, I think, by April 18th. And then we were done with the beans by, I think, May 10th was the last time we got the beans in. So crops look excellent. Again, we're only into the first part of June here right now, but the crops, at least in my neighborhood in central and west central Iowa, they look stellar. I mean, I don't think they could look any better right now. Again, it's early, but we're off to a very good start.
Great to hear that. How about the wheat yield with the wheat markets?
Yeah, again, it goes back to the weather forecast and planting pace. I mean, it's just awfully hard to rally corn when it's going in the ground. And also, you got Brazil that is just starting to harvest. Some of their early fields are coming off right now. And from all purposes, the Brazilian Safrinha corn crop looks excellent. And you've seen it in their cash prices. I mean, in the last 30 days, Brazilian corn is down about 40% off the highs. And also cash basis as the farmers sell have really weakened. So you can see that in our July Dece. I mean, that July Dece spread has just collapsed. I mean, it was at 34 cents July over Dece. Now we're at an inverse, 7 cent inverse. We got December over July right now. So not a really bullish picture for the old crop corn. And then new crop, we're sitting here right at the 200-day moving average at 449. Again, with the amount of acres that we got in and with rain in the forecast, it's just awfully hard to get a really big rally in this corn. But who knows? We'll see. I think the corn market, well, all the markets really, they would like to see some trade deals. There's just a lot of uncertainty regarding trade. But it was just announced about an hour ago, that China and the USA will meet on Monday to discuss trade in London. So hopefully something friendly comes out of that, because I think we're kind of in a wait and see pattern here in this grain market before we attempt any major rally without any weather predictions. So yeah.
Of course. Might the corn markets look like stuck with the prices, Jeff, since May?
Yes, sir.
So we are sticking to the prices for 300 for every day for the feeder cattle. Do you have any concerns about these prices overheating, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, this cattle market is absolutely on fire. New contract highs, new all-time highs here this week in both fat and feeder cattle. You got June up here at 226 fats, and you got August at 310 on the board. So this is just a classic, fundamentally led bull market. And it doesn't get much better than that when you have the cash market leading the way. We had 230 to 232 cash trades in Kansas. And we had anywhere from 235 to 242 cash trades up here in Nebraska and Iowa. So absolutely on fire. Again, demand in cattle numbers are down 5% compared to last year, but demand's up 17%. This is with all-time high beef prices. When does the consumer stop buying it? I don't know. We'll have to see. It's not there yet. And then you have the hogs getting in the action too. July hogs up here at 107.10. That's a new contract high. So some of the buying is spilling over into the hog market, but cattle market is a classic, fundamentally bull market. When does the box beef prices break, and when do the cash prices break? And then you'll be able to call a high in these futures prices. But just an incredible rally.
Do you watching about the consumer budget might have gonna be overwhelming, Jeff?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you go back and you look at those CBOs. I mean, they're typically pretty negative. And whatever happens in Washington doesn't really necessarily trickle down to your local Main Street. So we'll just have to see on that regard.
The fundamentals and technical side to the grains and livestock markets. Do you have any final thoughts about that?
Well, I just look at, I look at these prices and they are low. But if the trade war does escalate and draw out, which potentially, who knows, it potentially can. And with good weather, these prices can certainly move lower. So I'd watch that 435 mark in the December corn, the $10 big round number in November beans. We start getting closes below that, you might want to get some downside protection. And then the cattle, I think it's probably going to be a headline that stops this rally. You got next Sunday, a week from this Sunday, you got Father's Day weekend. That's usually a very strong beef demand weekend. Now that beef has been purchased already since we're closing fast into that holiday. But no, just incredible week here in the cattle. How long does the consumer continue to pay up? We'll just have to see. I don't have that answer for you.
Where people can find out more information about your firm.
You can reach us online at aghedgers.com or follow me on X at aghedger.
Thanks, Jeff. Good luck with everything on the growing season.
Caesar, great to be with you. And let's check back maybe here mid to late summer, and we can get a
Thanks to
kind of a
John.
crop.
Sounds good. Thanks to John Barrick, meteorologist for DTN, and Jeff French from American Ag. I am Cesar Delgado. You have a good day.